مع أسف شديد وحزن عميق أؤكد من جديد الإقرار بأن الاتهامات الذي وجهها إلي فريق الادعاء صحيحة ومطابقة للواقع، وإنني لشديد الندم عليها وعلى كل ما نتج عن الضرر عنها، وعلى كل ما نتج عنها من الضرر على أهلي وإخواني الأعزاء في تمبكتو، وعلى وطني الأم جمهورية مالي.
Mr. Ahmad Al-Faqi Al-Mahdi admitted guilt for the war crime of destroying historical and religious monuments in Timbuktu, Mali, around June and July 2012. Hearings in the Al-Mahdi trial were held for 3 days from August 22nd to 24th, 2016 at the International Criminal Court in The Hague. This is the first international trial focusing on the destruction of historical and religious monuments. Mr. Al-Mahdi is also the first accused to admit guilt before the ICC.
قد تسلطت علي زمرة من قادة ورموز القاعدة وأنصار الدين، وضعفت نفسي أمام ذلك كله، ولئن كانت تلك زوبعة شديدة عصفتني معها كما عصفت معها كثيرين من أهل العلم في البلد، فإن ذلك كما تعلمون لن يغير بلمحته العابرة تلكم الجذور العميقة التاريخية لمدينة تمبكتو وأهلها النبلاء. وأرجو أن تكون لي هذه السنوات التي أقضيها في غياهب السجن ومعاناته بمثابة النار المطهرة التي تؤهلني إلى أن أكون لائقا بأن أحظى بالعفو من القلوب التي تسببت بجراحها. وقبل النهاية أريد أن أسدي نصيحة إلى كل المسلمين في العالم ألا يقدموا على مثل هذه الأعمال التي يشتد ضررها ولا طائل تحتها ولا نفع منها.
The judges questioned the accused in order to confirm that the admission was made voluntarily after consultations with his defense counsel and that the accused understood the consequences.
Do you understand that the chamber is not bound by the terms of the agreement that you signed and that the chamber is not required to accept your admission of guilt made here today?
Yes, I do understand that, and it is also mentioned in the text of the document which was presented to me.
By making the admission of guilt and signing the agreement, you have waived many of the rights you would otherwise have as an accused. Do you confirm that waiver?
Yes, Your Honor, I confirm this, and I confirm what I have signed in this agreement.
We now proceed to the questions on the sentencing range. Mr. Al Mahdi, you understand that the chamber is not bound by the 9-year to 11-year sentencing range you have agreed to with the prosecution.
Yes, I do know that.
Thank you. And you understand that the crime you are admitting guilt to can carry a maximum term of 30 years.
Yes, I have understood that in the document which was presented to me.
And the last question, counsel, you understand that in the event of a conviction, the court can also order a fine or forfeiture and order reparations for the victims.
Yes, I do know that.
ICC prosecutor Fatou Bensouda said that the accused was involved in the entities established by Al-Qaeda, was a member of Ansar ad-Din, and the head of Hizbah, the Morality Brigade, and played a central role in the destruction of religious monuments in Timbuktu.
The world in the 21st century has witnessed too many attacks against historic monuments and buildings dedicated to religion. This worrying trend must be stopped in its tracks. This regrettable reality must cease to be. Recently, we have seen the calamitous destruction of Palmyra, and just last month, we saw the so-called ISIS destroy yet another historic monument, a mausoleum north of Baghdad. My message today is this: our cultural heritage is not a luxury good. Our cultural heritage is a vital instrument of human development. To protect cultural property is to protect our culture, our history, our identity, and our ways of expressing faith and practicing religion for current and future generations. We must protect our common heritage from desecration, ravages, and the long-term effects of such destructive acts. The severity of the crimes committed in this case calls for an appropriate punishment, one that is firm and serves as a deterrent while taking into account all of the accused's particular circumstances, including his admission of guilt and cooperation. Your judgment is awaited from the ancient streets of Timbuktu and throughout Mali to all four corners of the world.
Gilles Dutet showed the chamber various visual materials, maps, photographs, and video material showing the 10 destroyed religious objects, 9 mausoleums, and 1 mosque, before, during, and after the destruction. The 3 prosecution witnesses testified during the prosecution's presentation of evidence. Protected witness P0182 collected evidence in this case and took a statement from Mr. Al Mahdi. He testified about their findings related to the occupation of Timbuktu, the organization of armed groups, their leadership, and the destruction of cultural monuments between April 2012 and January 2013. He confirmed that the accused cooperated with investigators and the information he provided assisted the investigations in the case. Francesco Banderin, the second prosecution witness, is the Assistant Director General at UNESCO. He testified about how monuments are added to the World Heritage List, how governments and UNESCO have a duty to protect the monuments on the list, and what the impact is when the cultural monuments are destroyed.
The mausoleums, which are sometimes associated to the mosques, represent a focal point for the religious life of the inhabitants, and I would say also the region, and they are a focus for a very extensive pilgrimage.
The third prosecution witness, expert P0431, testified about Mali's cultural heritage, the importance and protection of cultural monuments, and the reactions of the local and international community in relation to the destruction of sites in Timbuktu. The Office of the Prosecutor asked for the accused to be declared guilty by the chamber and for a sentence of between 9 and 11 years of imprisonment. Legal representative of victims Mayombo Kasongo represented 8 victims who are participating in this case. He said that the victims he represented all told him similar stories of shame, suffering, and the intellectual disconnect they experienced after the mausoleums were destroyed. Victims, he said, also suffered financial losses because of the lost income from the visitors to the mausoleums.
Your Honors, this case is one that deals with a crime against cultural heritage. So, there is no more proof that such a crime only contributes to obscure the minds of people. It is prejudice and damage that goes beyond the simple and dramatic destruction of material monuments to the destruction of the minds, which therefore must be understood to be crimes that fall within the jurisdiction of this court. And it is for this reason that the victims question the sincerity of the guilty plea and the remorse expressed by the accused person. The victims do not accept Mr. Al Mahdi's confession. Some even argue that this guilty plea only serves to address matters of liability. I can talk about this because I am just returning from Timbuktu. the victims say that forgiveness has been asked for at the wrong place. Why is he doing it only here in the court? Why is that guilty plea being entered so late when the trial is already ongoing?
Mr. Al Mahdi's defense counsel, Mohamed Ouini and Jean-Louis Gillissen, further made remarks for their client. Mr. Ouini said that the chamber should bear in mind that his client has admitted guilt and asked for forgiveness when determining the sentence.
Your Honors, Mr. Al Mahdi is standing before you today, admitting honestly and in detail the crime that he is accused of. He expresses strong remorse for the result of his actions. He is asking for your pardon. He is asking for the pardon of the victims, those that have suffered, the children and grandchildren of the saints. He asked for the pardon of the population of Timbuktu, the city of Timbuktu, and the Mali people. He is asking for pardon from humanity as a whole. And he is asking from all Muslims in the world pardon, and he gives them this following advice: do not undertake such actions that will be extremely grave and that cannot be corrected. And he has collaborated with the court and is ready to pursue his collaboration with the court in order to allow justice to arise. And he wants to participate in creating the reconciliation and peace in his country, Mali. And he lastly asks you to be clement, lenient, and make proof of mercy when you take your decision. Thank you.
Trial Chamber 8 is composed of Presiding Judge Raoul Pangalangan, Judge Antoine Kessia Mbe Mindua, and Judge Bertram Schmidt. The Chamber will render its judgment and, if applicable, the sentence in this case on September 27, 2016.